We go now to our next interviews. So looking forward to hearing from this man. We've been trying to track him down for the last couple weeks, and finally he has made some time for us, and we're very appreciative of that. He is Dan Henderson, of course. He joins us right now on the MMA Hour. Dan, how are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. It's so great to hear from you. Obviously, want to ask you a lot of questions. Let's get right into it. When you first found out, Dan, that Chael Sonnen and not you would be fighting Jon Jones next, and on top of that would be a coach opposite of Jon on The Ultimate Fighter, what was your reaction?
I was, in shock, probably like a lot of the everyone else in the MMA world. Just that, it just didn't seem right to me to get that shot after not, without earning it.
Was it a little disheartening? Because I know on Twitter, you went to Twitter. We actually have the tweet right here, right? I want to get the exact wording correctly. If we could just put it up. You said, "I guess I should just quit training to win fights and to be exciting for the fans and just go to shit talking school." And you addressed that to @Dana White. Was this disheartening for you? Like, what am I doing after all these years in the sport? I'm being sort of sidestepped here for a fight that a lot of people think the guy who's getting the opportunity does not deserve it.
Well, it's basically it. It's just how it is, and that's what happened. It was, and I just kind of call it how it was.
A lot of people were surprised, not so much by your reaction, but just because they know you've had a relationship with Chael in the past. Of course, members of Team Quest. What do you think of him now? Is the relationship severed because he got the opportunity and you didn't?
No, not at all. I don't blame Chael at all for that. It wasn't him. Somebody offers him a fight, and a great opportunity like that. Why wouldn't he take it? It's just, for them to even consider that at this time. It basically all has to do with the tough show and them thinking that, that Chael and Jon Jones talking smack to each other on the Ultimate Fighter might save the ratings of the show.
Would you have been interested in doing the show had they asked you?
No, I wasn't asked at all, and of course I would have done it.
Now, Dana White actually held a video conference chat with fans yesterday, and he said that you're not 100%. He spoke to you recently, and so it's kind of crazy to even talk about you versus Jon because your knee is still not 100%. We'll get to the knee in a second, but Jon isn't even 100%, and this fight is only happening in April. Is it correct to assume that you would have been 100% as far as what your doctors are telling you to fight in April had they given you the opportunity?
Yeah, of course. Dana when I left on a trip to go to Singapore, and they were talking about me and Jones on Super Bowl weekend. Next thing I hear was this all over the internet about him and Chael. So, obviously, if I felt like I could be ready for February 2nd, an extra couple months would have been even better.
So you found out via the internet. No one in the UFC called you to tell you this?
No, I got no calls, and then, myself or my management, got no heads up on it. So, it's kind of crappy the way it went down, but it is what it is. I'm not focused on that anymore. I'm kind of moving forward, and I'm not going to worry about a title shot anymore. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's unfortunate for the fans, and if Jon Jones is still the champ, it's unfortunate for him to not really be able to test himself against me.
And you talked to Dana recently, right? He said that on the same conference chat. How did that conversation go?
He just asked me if I'd be ready to fight early February. So, and I said I should be, no problem.
So is it correct to assume that they want you to fight Lyoto Machida now on that Super Bowl weekend card?
I think that's what's being talked about.
Okay.
But we'll wait and see. I don't think it's a secret. Dana already mentioned that or announced that he was going to try and put me and him together. So.
Do you like that matchup?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate for Machida as well because he was next in line and I got hurt and you know, now we're fighting each other, and he may never get a title shot for a while now.
Also on the same video, Chad, it was a very interesting chat. I don't know if you saw it, but Chael Sonnen was asked about you, and he said, this is what he said. He said, I haven't spoken to him, but I haven't spoken to Dan. We'll leave it at that. And he kind of was going to say something and stopped. Is it true that you haven't spoken to Chael?
No, I haven't since then. I was gone, and when I got back, I've just been busy. And like I said, I don't blame Chael one bit for that. And if someone gets an opportunity like that, you know, of course they're going to take it.
How is your knee feeling right now?
I just started training this week, and it feels pretty good. The wrestling and the grappling is what's going to take a little bit longer. I got to go a little bit easier. The sparring and moving on my feet is a lot easier. So you know, it feels pretty good. I haven't had any pain this week, but I've been real careful. So.
When all this happened with you getting injured and not being able to fight at UFC 151, did they ever tell you, sit tight, you'll get your title shot, we just have to figure it out? Was that ever promised to you?
Not really. They just said, you know, wait and see what, you know, we got to see how it works out. And they had no idea at that time that they were even going to cancel 151 when they told me that. So, and when I told them I couldn't fight, it wasn't based on the fact that they were still going to put that fight together. You know, I didn't want to know if, you know, if I still was going to be able to have that fight or not. You know, that's a part of my decision. So, you know, for me to pull out, you know, I had to be pretty injured, and that's the way it was.
Do you think you're not getting the shot against John because you waited to tell the UFC about the injury?
I don't think so. I think, you know, they're used to dealing with that last minute. I think it was a shock to them that John Jones wouldn't take a fight with Chael last minute. I think that was most of it. But for me, I was planning on fighting that whole time, and just, you know, I was told by doctors and everybody that I'd be getting better. And the minute I told everybody in the world knows. So I didn't want that to happen. And it did happen as soon as I did tell the UFC about it. So that's when pretty much everything started leaking out pretty quickly. So
Dana keeps saying that Chael's the only one who said yes, but you know, obviously the circumstances are a little different because you were injured. Machida didn't want to take a fight on 3 weeks' notice. It's his second shot against John. Same with Shogun. There was a lot for them to lose as opposed to Chael's coming up from middleweight. Do you find that a little strange that he keeps saying that those guys, you know, including yourself, all said no, and this is the only guy who said yes, so that's why he's getting the title shot?
Well, I never said no to him.
Right.
Yeah, I never turned down a fight. I just was injured. So, you know, but I can understand Shogun and Machida wanting to make sure they're 100% prepared to fight John Jones. You know, they both have lost to him before, and you know, I think they want to make sure that they're 100% prepared this time, because it probably won't happen a third time.
In your conversations with Dana, did he say that if you beat Machida, then you would get a title shot?
No, and like I said, I don't want to wait around for a title shot anymore. You know, I have to fight 3 times by November, so I plan on being pretty active.
Is that per your contract?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I plan on fighting 3 times this year, basically. So
between essentially February to November.
Correct.
And you know, you last fought in November of last year. It's almost a year. And if you fight in February, it'll be over a year. Do you almost regret your decision to wait for the title shot now?
No. I mean, it was what it was, and it wasn't 100% my decision to wait. You know, they had told us as well that there was no other fights that made sense. You know, and that it would be best if I just waited. And it just, you know, I didn't expect it to be quite as long, but, you know, it was something I felt like, you know, I earned, and that was the only fight at the time that made sense. A lot of the light heavyweights hadn't really put any wins together. So, yeah, and I felt like that was the fight the fans wanted to see. So no, I don't regret it at all. But at the same time, I'm not going to wait. Now, I mean, I feel like, I want to be active, and whoever they put in front of me, I'll fight, and I'll make sure I beat them.
As you may know, when this announcement was made, it seemed like the MMA community blew up. Some people loved it. A lot of people hated it. A lot of purists said it was bad for the sport. You've got guys like Phil Davis and Shane Carwin saying on Access TV that they want to go to your shit-talking school, if you will. Do you feel as though ultimately this decision is a bad one for the sport, or do you understand in some ways, and given what the UFC has done in the past with Brock Lesnar getting a title shot and other guys being fast-tracked in fights that have been put together like Royce Gracie, Matt Hughes, that don't really make sense as far as the rankings go, that there's a bit of a precedent there for a decision like this?
Yeah, I absolutely think it was a bad decision for the sport. It just, it makes the sport lose a little bit of integrity.
Do you think that if Chael Sonnen never was a trash talker, if you will, he would never even be considered for an opportunity like this? Like, are you worried that we're going down the WWE path that a lot of people are afraid of?
Yeah, I absolutely think that, he wouldn't have been considered at this time.
And for a guy to get a title, because, Randy Couture lost a title fight, then got a title shot. Like, we have seen this before, though. Why do you feel like this is such a bad decision on the UFC's part?
Well, to get, to never fight at that weight class, and your last fight, you get TKO'd in a title fight that, I think that kind of sets the standard.
Right. And how do you think he'll do? Do you think he has a shot?
I think through that whole circumstance, it definitely shows that John Jones is afraid to be on his back. So, with that being said, yeah, Chael definitely has a shot.
Do you want to make a prediction as to who you think will win?
No.
Now, will you be helping Chael as he prepares for this fight?
I'd be happy to.
Really? You don't think it would be weird at all, or, I don't know, just a tough thing for you to do because that was the opportunity that you were looking forward to?
No, like I said, I don't blame Chael at all.
Okay.
It was all about, whoever made the decision, Dana or whoever, I just think that kind of slaps the sport in the face a little bit.
Has this changed your relationship with Dana at all?
I don't know. I mean, I understand that he does what he does for the UFC, and he always has. First and foremost, and then he tries to accommodate the fighters as he can. But it was more about the business of saving the ratings on the Ultimate Fighter show, and I understand that.
Do you think people will tune into this, or do you think people will tune into that? You say save the ratings for the Ultimate Fighter. Do you think people are interested based on what you've heard, or do you think they'll see right through this this feud, if you will?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, and final thing, Dan.
I think most of the people watch that show for the fights, and and the guys getting opportunities to be in the UFC.
Right. Final thing before we let you go. While this was happening, you were in Singapore. You were tweeting. You were keeping us updated. It seemed like you were having a great time. By the way, I was a little jealous of you. What exactly were you doing over there?
Just a little bit of meeting, and I had a seminar that I scheduled over there, and visiting Heath Sims that coaches over there now, and spent a couple days in Thailand as well, just checking it out. Never been, so yeah, I had a good time. I didn't let it get me down. So,
did you get a sense that the MMA scene over there was as thriving as some others want us to believe?
It's about to explode over there. I don't think it's quite there yet. They've got the Muay Thai thing pretty much ingrained in their culture, and so I don't think it'll be too tough to, within a year or two to really see some huge shows over there.
All right. Well, Dan, we really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for your thoughts and opinions. As always very candid. And good luck in getting back to 100% and maybe, hopefully, that fight against Machida on Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, there he is. Dan Henderson, one of the greatest of all time. Actually, a lot of people do consider him to be one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in MMA history. He joins us to offer his thoughts in his first interview since this was announced. Very candid thoughts, and it's hard, in a way, you have to feel for a legend like him. Obviously, saying now that he doesn't. He's kind of, over the title, and you've heard that from him. Anthony Pettis told me that a couple of days ago when talking about his title shot. He was promised 2 title shots. Obviously, he didn't get the title shot after the draw between Gray Maynard and Frankie Edgar at UFC 125, and then sort of promised a title shot after UFC 144 in Japan earlier this year. But that happens in this sport. You get a title shot. Just ask Kyle Parisian about that. You get a title shot, you get injured, something happens. And sometimes you have to win a couple fights to get right back in there. Dan says that he wants to fight 3 times between February and November. I'd have to think if he beats someone like Machida, he would maybe be 1 fight, if not right there, back in the mix, if you will, fighting for a title shot. Of course, there's the super fight, John Jones, Anderson Silva, looming out there. But I'd still like to see that fight. And I think that's a fight a lot of people want to see. I think that's a fight that was built up enough. Old versus new, old school, new school, all that good stuff. I think it's a fight that people are interested in.